Just a few weeks ago, WeWork was one of America's hottest startups. Now, it's fighting for its survival. Hi there, thanks for joining us once again for Plain English. I'm Jeff. JR is the producer, and you are listening to the best podcast for learning English. Today is episode number 203, and that means all our resources are available to you at plainenglish.com/203. And just as a reminder, the resources include a free word-for-word transcript, and Plain English Plus members have access to video lessons, translations, flashcards, and a fast version of this very episode. Coming up today, one of the world's hottest new companies, the We Company, which owns the WeWork co-working offices, has suffered a stunning fall from grace. Just 2 months ago, it seemed to be on top of the world. Today, its founder and CEO has been kicked out, and the company is fighting for its survival. We'll talk about the drama behind WeWork on today's episode. And the English expression we'll talk about today is fall from grace. It's Thursday, so we have a song of the week. Real quick, before we dive into the main content, are you part of our email program? If not, then you'll want to head to plainenglish.com/mail, M-A-I-L, and sign up. Twice a week, JR sends out additional episode resources to thousands of your fellow listeners. The emails have a summary of the episode, links to English articles about the main topic, and an explanation of another English word or phrase. Make sure to get all those free resources by signing up at plainenglish.com/mail. If you live in a capital city around the world, you may have heard about WeWork, the fashionable, tech-savvy co-working office firm that promised to revolutionize the way, we work. The company was set to go public in September, and it would have been the year's second most valuable IPO, or initial public offering, behind only Uber. Now, its founder has been kicked out, and it was, until recently, in danger of running out of money. What in the world happened? Here's a quick history. WeWork is a pioneer of co-working office space. Now, in a traditional office, a company rents a suite. It can be a small suite, just a few thousand square feet, or an entire skyscraper. And the company's employees all work in that space. And that works well for companies that can afford a big space and that can afford to sign a long-term lease. But it doesn't work as well for individual freelancers or small teams, especially startups. Those smaller individuals and small teams want the trappings of a traditional office, like desks, conference rooms, phones, a receptionist, a coffee machine, whatever, but they can't afford to sign a 5-year lease, buy or rent all the furniture, set up utilities, all those expensive and exhausting things involved in setting up an office. A co-working space aims to solve that problem. So WeWork is the one who signs a long-term big lease with the landlord, the building owner. WeWork turns around and rents the space to freelancers and small teams by the desk. So essentially, they sell a membership, and as a member, you have the right to come into their office full of freelancers and small teams and set up a desk. You can upgrade to have a private office if you need one, or you can take an entire section of a WeWork floor, etc. It's flexible. So as a member, you have rights to shared spaces like conference rooms, and you pay monthly just for what you need. So you don't have to worry about long-term contracts or the headaches of furnishing an office. Co-working as a concept is popular around the world. WeWork itself has over 800 locations in over 100 cities worldwide. They're in big and even medium-sized cities in the US. They're in Mexico's 3 biggest cities, 5 cities each in Germany, Brazil, and the UK, and they're huge in Asia with outposts all over China, India, and Japan. Smaller co-working offices are in all those cities and more. If you live in even a medium-sized city, search Google for your city name and the word co-working, and you'll probably find something. WeWork has positioned itself as the premium co-working office. Their spaces are well-designed with modern, comfortable furniture. They have premium coffee available, and they often have events where freelancers can connect and network after hours. They also tend to have the best locations in their respective cities. WeWork attracted a lot of investment as it grew. Its charismatic founder, Adam Neumann, and its premium brand seduced a number of early investors into giving it more and more money in exchange for small percentage ownerships. The Softbank Vision Fund, a Japanese investment fund that primarily manages money from the Middle East, they invested $10 billion in WeWork for about a quarter of the company's shares. So I'm going to round the numbers a bit to make it easy to understand. So SoftBank invested about $10 billion for less than a 1/4 share in the company. So that means SoftBank thought the company as a whole was worth more than $40 billion. So if you pay $10 billion for a quarter of something, you're saying the whole is worth more than $40 billion. In this case, the actual number was $47 billion, a number that you will soon learn will be written into the history books. So with that background, WeWork was hurtling towards an IPO, an initial public offering, in September. An IPO is when you begin to sell shares in your company on the stock market. And if you want to do that, if you want to go public and sell shares, sell part of your company out to the public, then you have to open up the doors and disclose a lot of information about your business. So that's only fair. A private company can do what it likes with its money, with its finances, but if you want to sell shares to the public, small percentages of your company, to any investor, well then, the public should be able to see what they are buying. The public saw, and it was horrified. It turns out that those center city locations with premium coffee are expensive to run, and they're not profitable. WeWork wasn't charging enough to cover its expenses at its existing locations, and at the same time, they were spending lavishly on opening splashy new locations. WeWork took in about $2 billion in 2019 and spent almost twice that amount of money. The only reason it could continue to stay in business is because investors like Softbank continued to give it money, believing that one day, it would be profitable. But the company failed to convince big investors in the public that it ever could become profitable. WeWork realized that if it went public, if it sold shares on the stock market, it wouldn't go well. Existing investors would lose money, not make money from that scenario. So they paused plans for their public offering. Now, their problem was their whole business relied on new investment in order to continue operating. Without new investors giving them money, they were facing a real possibility of running out of money by early 2020, if not earlier. Softbank, which had already invested a lot of money, decided it needed to take over. So they will invest even more money to keep the lights on, but they are insisting on changes. They kicked out the eccentric founder and CEO, installed their own boss, and they are now setting about cutting costs and stopping the bleeding. The company is now worth about $9 billion, a stunning 80% drop in value in just a few weeks after the public got a whiff of the company's true financial position. Every economic cycle tends to have one outrageous story that marks the end of the good times. Before the financial crisis of 2008 here in the US, the story was people who had no money and no job and no skills getting loans for these enormous, luxurious houses. In the bubble in internet stocks in 2000, the poster child was Pets.com, which was richly valued despite making a loss on every sale. The .com in its name convinced people that it must be a valuable company. And maybe WeWork will be the emblematic story of this economic cycle, who knows? What I never understood about WeWork was how it would weather a recession. Its customers are freelancers and small teams. And in a recession, those are the people who get hurt. And for them, WeWork is a luxury. A freelancer can work at home if his income gets cut. Now, I think co-working is a great idea and necessary in the economy, but these companies need a plan for the next recession. A fall from grace is when you have a good reputation, but you lose it. WeWork was a darling startup. everyone loved it. They were going to change the way people worked forever. The whole idea of work was going to change because of WeWork. Gone are the days of the boring cubicle for the workers and the corner office for executives. Now, we can all work in a well-designed space with comfortable furniture, networking events, and premium coffee. Well, once investors got a look at the financial situation behind this idealistic vision, they balked. More and more information came to light, more than I had time to talk about in this episode, let me tell you. More and more information came to light, and WeWork's reputation was tarnished. The CEO once said he wanted to be the world's first trillionaire, the first person in the world to be worth $1 trillion. He was soon kicked out of his own company because it was hemorrhaging money. That is the definition of a fall from grace. Harvey Weinstein is a perfect example of fall from grace. He was an acclaimed movie producer, one of the most powerful and talented movie producers in all of Hollywood. But a long string of sexual abuse allegations surfaced, and it soon became clear that Harvey Weinstein was a sexual predator. He was arrested and is now facing trial. He has experienced an epic fall from grace. This happens to politicians. They have to resign as a result of a public revelation, corruption, or some personal failing or other. Now, the important thing when using fall from grace is that the person or company has to be well respected to begin with. You have to be able to fall from some high point. It means you have lost your high status, respect, or prestige. Some people say Justin Bieber suffered a fall from grace. As a teenager, he was on top of the world, the idol of young girls everywhere. And as he grew into his 20s, his reputation suffered as a result of some bad personal decisions. But it's always possible to fall from grace and then to bounce back. Justin Bieber might be a case of that. Michael Vick, if you follow American football, you might recognize that name. He was a popular quarterback with the Atlanta Falcons and the Philadelphia Eagles, but he ran a dogfighting ring in his spare time. And the image of setting up dogs to fight justifiably horrified the American public, which quickly turned against Michael Vick. He spent 21 months in jail, and that was a fall from grace. Popular football star, people liked him, making lots of money, and then in jail for running a dogfighting ring, and everyone hated him. That was a fall from grace. But he bounced back. Now, some people will never forgive him, and that is their right, but Michael Vick appears to have bounced back, earned people's respect again, and learned from the error of his ways. All right, enough of that. On to cheerier subjects. JR's Song of the Week. He has nominated Me and Julio Down by the Schoolyard by Paul Simon as this week's song. Do not look to this song for advice on how to speak properly. Now that goes for most songs, but especially this one. But that's not why we listen to songs. We listen to be entertained and have fun, and this is a good song. It was in JR's head all day, so check it out. Me and Julio Down by the Schoolyard by Paul Simon. All right, that's it for today. WeWork desks, I just checked, go for about $350 per month for a single shared desk, close to $500 a month if you want your own reserved desk, and $800 or $1,000 a month for a solo office here in Chicago. And just for perspective, I've been in some of the WeWork offices and they are nice, so I'll leave you with that. Now, if you're serious about improving in English, then I encourage you to check out Plain English Plus. One of the best features of Plain English Plus is our video lessons. With each episode, twice a week, we highlight one little piece of grammar or English usage, and we show you how to use it in a video lesson. And if you think it's just sitting back and watching, it's not. You get to write your own sentences right from inside the video. And these videos show you the ways to connect ideas, develop your thoughts, and sound more professional in your writing and speaking. If this sounds like what you need, then come check us out at plainenglish.com/plus. Don't forget, we'll be back on Monday with another exciting episode of Plain English. See you then.